Hey everybody, Prepper Nurse 1 here. Today is Sunday, December 30th, 2018. Yes, hello Sonics. I wanted to sit down and kind of give a recap for everybody that hasn't seen the channel or new to the channel. Kind of give you a history of where we came from and how everything got going and how I ended up where I am at now. Okay, so alright, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on myself first. So when I was a kid, from about 5 to 9, we lived on a farm in a town called Albion, New York. And we had a 72-acre farm, and we did all of this stuff, baling hay, everything. Got my first gun probably at 5 or 6. It was a 22. And actually got a pheasant with, I think it was, I saw the pheasant, I shot, I probably was about 8 years old at the time, and looking back now, it was probably somebody else had shot it already, and I just kind of came up on it afterwards and shot it a second time. But anyway, I got a pheasant at like 8 years old, and so we brought it home, and I was like all jacked up. I'm like, look, I got a pheasant. So we cooked that bad boy up and ate it, and it was delicious. But anyway, so that's kind of like my beginning background. When my mom got divorced, then she had remarried, and then every time that my mom was like in between marriages, we were always back at my grandparents' home. And so my grandparents were the stability for me as a child growing up. And they had a piece of property, and I think they had like 13 acres, if I'm not mistaken, because I know that the garden alone was an acre large garden. So my love of gardening and growing my own crops and stuff like that started at a really, really early age. Well, my grandparents were Depression era people, so they always had a fully stocked pantry. So that's what I grew up with. That was very normal for me. So anyway, so after I graduated from high school, I went into the military and did my time in the service. And after I got out of the service, then I kind of was bombing around for a few years trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I had a cousin who was a nurse, still is, same just like me. But he was like, well, Ed, why don't you try nursing? And I was like, oh, no way, man. No, there's just no way. And he's like, no, I think you would be really, really good at it. Well, I started out, hey, Max. I started out, freaking cats, started out as a nursing assistant. And I did that for about 5 years and got some experience with that. And in that time frame, I decided that I wanted to get out of New York again. I had decided I'd had enough with New York, needed a change of pace. There was a lot of stuff going on at that point in my life, so I went down south and I moved to North Carolina. So I was 27 years old when I went to North Carolina. And I lived down there for a year. And I absolutely loved North Carolina. Loved the weather. The people, everything. It was a whole different mindset, and it was wonderful. And there was some family issues going on back here at home, and I got a phone call, and so I came back up, and I had one conversation and squashed all the issues. Well, about that time, I was like, I plan on staying here for 6 months, and then I'm going to head back down south again. So I had the opportunity at that point to go to nursing school. And so I decided, yep, I'm going to go to nursing school. I had met my first wife, got married, went to, I got married after I got done with nursing school. So I went to nursing school, got my license, and then her and I got married, and that didn't work out. And it's another whole story. I could do a whole video just on that. But so we went our separate ways, and it was 2 years after I had left her that I met the kid's mom. And so got together with her, and we decided I wanted kids. I said I want to have kids, and she was like, well, I'm going to get pregnant one more time. So we were joking around, and I said, well, you're going to have twins then. I said, they run on my side of the family. She goes, oh my God. She goes, they run on my side as well. Well, as you guys know, I ended up having twins, and that's where Eddie and Heather were from. And so when I got together with my ex-wife, the second wife, she had a 5-year-old son at the time, Joshua. And so from 5 to 16, we were together, and I was in his life. And he had his father was in the picture, and his father's a great guy, a great father. And he had told me at one point, he said, Ed, he goes, you are everything that I could have ever asked for in a stepfather. You treat my son just like he's your own. And I always did, because I was a stepchild and I know what it was like, and I was never going to do that to Josh. And Josh and I still talk. We still, we're still close. He's a grown man now, lives in New Jersey. He's doing well, and he's, having a good life. And actually, him and I just got together and had breakfast over the Christmas break. He was up, took some time off, and came up because he, like I said, he lives in New Jersey now. Okay, so what got me going with prepping? So in 2005, August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina came through and decimated things in the South, especially in New Orleans. And I remember watching that. And by this point, my kids, I have 4-year-old twins, and I have a 9-year-old stepson. And I remember looking at it going, my God, if something happens, the government's not going to come and save the day, because they didn't come and save the day. I said, we need to make sure that we're prepared for an emergency. Now, I always, even as an adult, have always had a stocked pantry. It just always was peace of mind. Like I said, it's what I grew up with, so I've always had that mindset to have extra. But that's, like I said, that's how I kind of grew up. And so that was already there. The gardening was already there. I've gardened my whole life, and I've always loved gardening. And so no matter where I've lived, I've always had a garden and stuff like that. So anyway, so, it really was a jump start for me. So it was about 2005 was when I really had my awakening that we need to be more self-sufficient. So at that point, I started prepping hardcore, getting everything that I thought that I needed, and doing research and stuff like that. Well, in the course of my research, I read a book, and I cannot tell you the name of the book anymore. I don't remember what the author's name was, but anyway, it was a lot of great information about prepping and stuff like that. And so he was talking about retreats and having a retreat. And the biggest thing that really drove home with me with what he was saying was, he said, if you can do it, live on your retreat full time, because then all of your stuff is there already. And the chances of you being home when something happens, we spend a good number of our hours at home. Okay, we spend another good amount of time traveling back and forth to work or at work itself. So you're either generally home or you're at work. So that was something that really stuck with me. So I got my first retreat. We had 10 acres. We built a 12 by 24 building. We ended up adding an 8 by 8 shower room onto that later on, which was going to end up being the bathroom. And so we had that to start with. And my ex-wife was like, I'm on board, because I said to her, I want to go and live there full time. And where the property that we had in the wintertime, the only way to get it in and out would have been by snowmobile. It was that isolated and remote. You couldn't see it from the main road. It was way tucked back into the woods. It was 1.1 mile off the main road on a dirt road. Then it was the only way to get in there. So, but she was telling me, yes, I'm on board. So as I was putting plans together to make that move, she decided, nope, I'm not. She was never on board, as I found out later on from mutual friends, that she was basically BSing me. And once she realized that I was serious, then she bailed. So it happens. What are you going to do? So anyway, got divorced, had to sell my first property, and because in the divorce she got the rights to half of it, and so it is what it is. It is, what are you going to do? So then I'm like, okay, well, now we got to find something else. And so then we found this property. So it was funny, my mother and I had come out, and there was a couple of properties up here that we had looked at, and puppies are playing. And I looked at this property, and it was pretty raw. If you go back to my early videos when we were here, it was pretty raw. And I remember going, I see the potential for what this could be, though. So that's kind of how we got started. And so I bought the property, and I had bought the camper, and so I had to, actually the guy that I bought the camper from, he let me keep it where it was for a year until the property closed, until I could get in here and put stone down to get the camper in place. So we got the camper in place, got the stone down. So we started out with the camper, 37-foot camper, as you guys will see it, out in the videos. And we had the shop. That was it. Okay. So the day in the story as things work out. So the divorce goes through. I get my divorce. We were still living in Greece, New York at the time. So we were planning our move. So the day before we moved, and I talked about this a little bit in the other day's video. The day before we moved, I found out that I had cancer. So rare form of skin cancer, affects 1 in a million people. Lucky me, I win the cancer lottery. But the good news is it's a type of cancer, very treatable, 98% cure rate, and only 5% of people does it metastasize. So that was really, really good news. And so, but I had to have, I had done a first surgery 2 weeks before I moved. It was a same-day surgery that took out, it was like an egg-sized mass out of my back. And with this particular type of cancer, it presents itself either on the front or on your back in a trunk. And it's a very fast-acting cancer, and if it's not taken care of, it can definitely kill you. But it was really growing fast, so I'm like, let's get this out of here as soon as we can. So a month after we moved down here, I had my surgery. So my plans completely changed at that point, because after my surgery, then I just had to recover. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we going to do, So then we had gone into town, and they were selling buildings, and stuff like that. So we would look into that, and so it was, so much money down. You paid your payments. It was a 3-year payment plan, and then it was you owned it after 3 years. So we looked at that, and I said, you know what? We could buy this 14 by 40 lofted barn, and we'll turn it into our house. And that's exactly what we did. And if you go back and look at the videos of the progression of that, at that point when we first got it, we put it up on, had him put it up on blocks for me, because I had all the blocks here, and it was wrong. And my subscribers said, nope, that is absolutely wrong. That's not the way it should be, blah, blah, blah. So I was contacted by Kelly, one of my subscribers, and he was like, listen, I'm going to take 3 days. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to help you out. And I said, okay. Because I was like I said, I was very early in my recovery from my cancer surgery. I had surgery done in July, and I think Kelly came up in, it was either September or October. I can't remember exactly which month it was. I think it might have been October. And so he came up and had the big jack, and we jacked up the house in sections, reset all the block. And after resetting all the block with him, I'll never forget, he was like, are you okay? And I kept going, yeah, I'm fine. I was not fine. I was done. After we had got that part of it done, I was absolutely just done. And I pushed way too hard, and I was suffering. And so then Kelly, the windows that you see in the house, we had bought the windows already. He put all the windows in for us and stuff like that. So I will always and forever, I know you still watch, Kelly, and I will always and forever be thankful for everything. I really, really, truly am. And so he helped us out that way to get us started. I have an electrician that lives down the street. He came in and did the electrical work, and I actually did it with him. So we worked together on that, but he knew what he was doing, so I let him do all the important stuff. So what else? So after we got that going, then I had hired a guy to come in and do the carpentry work, and so he came in and and worked on stuff. And it was early November, and it was freaking cold. It was too cold to stay in the camper anymore. We had just got the wood stove in, and I mean everything was just all open, and everything wasn't built yet. And we were sleeping out here on the floor in front of the wood stove because it was too cold to sleep in a camper anymore. So I had told him, please work on the kids' rooms first, and that's what he did. And then after he did that, then he worked on the other stuff, and it all came together, and it really just did. It just all came together, and you know, it's been a work in progress, and I've been working on the property ever since then. And you know, my first year experimenting with the garden was a disaster. I tried something different. I tried it in buckets. It was a really, really hot summer, and it was a disaster. That year was absolutely disaster garden. And but the last 2 years have been fantastic because I went back to more of a traditional way of gardening, and the gardens both the last 2 years have been absolutely awesome. So anyway, so there's a lot of plans coming up in the future, but that kind of gives you a quick rundown of where we started at, what was my wake-up moment, which was 2005. And I technically was already kind of a prepper ahead of time, but you know, it just like I said, I've always had that mindset of having enough extra food in case of an emergency, but not to the point where we are now, obviously. But I definitely have gone above and beyond. But it just, for me, it's peace of mind, and it makes me feel good to be able to be in that position to know that I can take care of my family. And that's the most important thing, always has been to me, is being able to take care of my family if there's an emergency. And even when they're grown and gone, you know, if there's an emergency, they know where they're going to go, you know, and they know they're going to be safe and they're going to be okay. So let's see, what else? What else could I share with you about? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't think of anything else at the moment. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask questions. You know, it's in the comments, and I'll try to get to them and answer them if I can. And but I wanted to tell you too, while I'm thinking about it, the website, I'm still doing my sale, 20% off, and that's going to run through. Today's the 30th. Tomorrow's the 31st. So tomorrow's the last day. It'll be midnight East Coast time, 3 a.m. West Coast time. It's 20% off. So if you go to my website, preppernurse1.com, and you will get 20% off of anything, legacy foods, t-shirts, coffee mug, whatever you want to get. Feel free, and you can get anything you want right there. Okay? So I just wanted to mention that real quick before I forgot about it. Woke up this morning. We had about 2 inches of snow. A lot of it is already melted off. It was about 38 degrees today, so it's still there, but not like it was. A lot of it has melted off. So it was another day of, like somebody had said, I had to laugh. They were like, from the commercial back in the 80s, time to make the donuts. It's time to clean the panels. So that's pretty much it every day. Wake up and make sure I got to clean the panels, get them squared away so we get enough power. But that's it's been an interesting process, and I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest with you. It's been fantastic. I love living off grid. It's very, very peaceful. It's very relaxing, even with a myriad of animals. But they're good company. They really, really, truly are. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free down in the comments, ask questions. If there's something that I may have missed that you wanted to ask questions about, then feel free to do that. Like I said, stay with us. They're just playing like crazy. Stay with us, and you're going to see a whole lot of stuff coming up. And hopefully this year is going to be more productive. We will see. So anyway, guys, remember, we are all in this together. Remember, hug and kiss the ones you love. Tell them every single day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what's going to happen. You have to see it. These guys are nuts. Anyway, remember STD, guys. It's one step at a time, one thing at a time, one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to work at it methodically. You will get there. The only one that can hold you back is yourself. That's it. Nobody else can do it, okay? So thank you for being on this journey with us. I wanted to do this video, primarily we've had a lot of new people come in this year that maybe didn't go back and watch a lot of the old videos. But there's like 1,600 videos out there, so there's a lot of videos. So just kind of a recap of everything and how we got to where we're at now. I hope you guys are enjoying hearing that in the background. They're literally just, are you guys silly? Huh? Are you silly puppies? Yes. They're good company for each other. They really are. All right, guys. So anyway, I'm out of here for now. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Weekend's over now, but I hope everybody had a great weekend. Cowboys won again, so ha-ha! Giants down the toilet. I hope there's Giants fans out there because I can't stand the Giants. So we came back at the end and went for the 2-point conversion. and won the game. So, and that's with Ezekiel Elliott sitting and a lot of other people sitting during that game. So, anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. Prepper Nurse 1, out for now.